My dear friend Sonia is joining us today for SheBoss, and I am over the moon, tickled pink. Tickled purple, actually. And one of the interesting things about this particular SheBoss episode is that this is the second time we have had a guest on twice. It doesn't happen very often, but I think when, there's amazing and interesting things just that are filled in our world, and things change and life happens and we take these different steps, there are beautiful stories to be told along that way. So I am so excited to share what you've got going on, recently, because it's a lot and I'm just pumped and you're amazing. So I'm so glad that we're here to tell your story again.
Well,
So
thanks for the invite to come back a second time. And it's going to be a blast to share all the details of what I've been up to in my second career pause.
I love it. I love it. And we're going to talk about the pause in a little bit. But so Sonia came on SheBoss when we were just talking. We launched SheBoss post-COVID as a way to engage with the community and really introduce these amazing women that I was so fortunate to get a chance to meet, just like you, to the community, because you just have awesome stories to tell. But there's been a lot that's gone on since then. So let's start, for those that didn't catch your initial episode, let's just start with a little bit of background on your history. And, you're started off doing marketing in your career and have kind of followed suit into the C-suite and have been in several leadership positions. And now we're at a little bit of a transition point, which is very exciting that we're going to talk about in just a bit. But let's start from the beginning, if we can, and tell us a little bit more about you.
Perfect. So I started my career in healthcare marketing and PR at Crestwood Medical Center here in Huntsville. And I spent 8 years there. Absolutely loved it. Loved the work. PR is my first love from a career perspective. Yeah. And it's what I hold my degree in. And I also have the accreditation in public relations, which is APR.
Yep.
Fast forward after Crestwood, I also got an MBA. And through my experience at Crestwood, I became very, very interested in leadership, primarily due to my boss and my mentor. She was incredible. Her name's Lori Light, and she taught me a lot about leading people and how to do it with empathy, respect, and kindness. And we had an incredible team that I was able to work with during my tenure at Crestwood.
Yeah.
So once I received my MBA, I knew that it was time for me to explore my next career move. And I joined a revered startup here in Huntsville and spent another 8 years there. Rose through the ranks very quickly into executive leadership, had a lot of failures along the way, which we could talk about as well. I'll call them bloopers or career bloopers, which we all experience. And as I was coming to the end of my first tenure at this organization, I unfortunately was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that kind of knocked me back on my heels. I was faced with a salary reduction and title demotion due to my performance as a result of chemo brain, which chemo brain is a symptom of chemotherapy where it gives you brain fog. Your cognitive function suffers because of it. You're not able to process things as quickly. So I was finding myself in meetings and working on projects where sometimes I couldn't even find the words I needed or form the sentences. So yes, my performance was suffering.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it was just a salary reduction and a title demotion, because at that time in my life, I needed a steady income. I needed access to health care because once chemo wrapped up, I moved into my long-term breast cancer treatment plan. I'm still on that long-term treatment 8 years later.
Wow.
So I needed health insurance. And I also wanted to keep my 2 boys in their childhood home that I was now the single head of household for.
Yeah.
Because divorce I had experienced 18 months prior to my breast cancer diagnosis. I met up with a trusted advisor following the salary reduction and the title demotion, and I talked with her over coffee, and she left me with 2 words that have become so impactful in my life. And she said to me, "Do nothing." She put a time limit on it. She said, "For 1 year, do nothing. Do not quit your job. Do not volunteer for projects that you do not feel like you are ready to take on. And you prepare for 1 year. And in 1 year, if you feel like you still need to make a move, then you will be in a position to do it." But she also coached and counseled me around how cancer doesn't just impact the patient. Cancer impacts everyone around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was empathetic to the position that I had put my colleagues in. So I stayed.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed for 1 year. And then I resigned. So that led into my first career pause. It was a career pause that I funded 100% myself through money I had saved. And I was out of the workforce for 6 months. I took on a few consulting opportunities with some great premier organizations, actually nonprofits in the Huntsville community, just to sort of pad my income a little bit. And then once I was ready to return to the paid workforce, I stepped into the executive director role with BioAlabama, which is a statewide professional organization that is part of the big biotech industry organization.
Yeah.
I spent 18 months there, and it was a blast. I had so much fun traveling the state of Alabama, meeting with my board members. I had a board of 30,
Wow.
which is a lot for a
That's
nonprofit executive director. But we were very focused in our goals and objectives that we had for the organization. And it was very simple: put the organization on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And very few people knew about BioAlabama and the work that the organization did.
Mm-hmm.
And once I joined the organization, we put together our strategic plan, and within 6 months, the world shut down. We were under strict safer at home orders,
Mm-hmm.
and my email and my phone was silent. And I began to ponder and wonder if I had made a mistake. But I leaned into my PR background and realized that this was the moment for BioAlabama.
Mm-hmm.
And we activated every board member. We ramped up an aggressive social media campaign. I set up Google alerts for everything related to the pandemic recovery efforts and organizations within our state and the work that they were doing.
Yeah.
And the revenue flywheel for us started turning. I received one phone call, and it was someone I'd never met before, an organization I did not know. And when I answered the phone, the gentleman said, "Hi, Sonia. I'm doing a lot of work with organizations that are responding to the pandemic, and I want to do more. How can we get involved with BioAlabama?" And that was the start. We started receiving emails, phone calls. Our membership, which was our primary revenue stream, started ticking up.
Mm-hmm.
And after a few months, the board commissioned me to do the research to bring back the statewide conference. The only hiccup here was we would not be able to do an in-person conference.
Mm-hmm.
Those were banned and taboo at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had never planned a large-scale remote conference before. And I went back to my board, and we had some incredible individuals on our board who started pulling in resources that we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And together, it was a collective, collaborative project. We delivered a 3-day remote conference and brought in speakers from around the country, had elected officials participate, and we were able to accomplish some of our other goals because of that show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a career highlight for me. It always will be. And it's written in my book as well to kind of share how the formula of how I worked with a 30-member board to make that a reality.
Mm-hmm. Just some of the things that I would assume surface of moments of, those moments of pride, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it ingenuity in having to react very quickly to something that you didn't know what to do around? Was it the speed of adaptation that the board was able to react to? Was it like, what were some of the things that you, like, looking back, was it, we don't know what's going on, and so everybody just sort of put their energy into the unknown, for lack of a better phrase? Like, where do you kind of see where a lot of that momentum kind of came from?
The momentum came from my expertise in marketing and public relations.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you just looked at it through that lens, and it was, how can we, this is survival mode in
Yes.
essence. Yeah.
It
That's
was a
exciting.
beautifully designed PR campaign that we implemented over the course of several months to make it a reality. So that's really the foundation of how it started. And when I joined the organization, the individuals that I interviewed with, we were very candid with one another. And I said, look, I don't know biotech. Sure, I worked in healthcare. I have a little knowledge around how a hospital operates, but I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
I'm not a researcher, but I know marketing and PR. And that's what the organization needed at the time.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So after you left BioAlabama, what happened next?
BioAlabama, me leaving was a surprise to a lot of people. I loved the work that we were doing, and it aligned perfectly with my personal mission to support cancer researchers and support patients,
Yeah.
to understand how I then could better support that community. After the conference, I received a phone call from my former boss, and he invited me to come back to the organization that I was at before my first pause, to be CEO. Of course, I had to go through the interview process with the board, but to receive an invitation of that level is something that I felt like not many people receive in their life.
Yeah.
And I also felt like it was an opportunity for me to not only redeem myself, but to take my career to the level that I really wanted to take it. And that was being a leader of a team. Because at BioAlabama, it was just me and a board and a small team of interns. But this opportunity would present new challenges, new problem-solving experiences that I craved and wanted to take my career into the next phase. And after consulting with my parents, who are two of my top trusted advisors and mentors, as well as my two sons, who are also two of my top trusted advisors and mentors.
Yeah. Love that so much.
Yes, my 16-year-old and 12-year-old mentor me. And they do a phenomenal job at it. But I talked to all four of them. We talked about the pros and cons. We talked about the stress and the cadence, the workload, and what that would mean. And they all supported me in the decision, and I chose to interview for it and got the job. So I returned to a workplace where I had experienced a salary reduction. I had experienced a title demotion, but I was able to work with my team through that. And we came up with a solution to put me in a seat to allow me to recover fully from chemo brain and still contribute to the team in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important point to make, because at face value, when you hear that someone stayed with a company after a salary reduction and title demotion following a health crisis, the knee jerk is to immediately assume that it was all negative. And I think there's questions of, well, why did you stay? And I want to share that story more broadly to say sometimes taking a step back is not a negative. Sometimes if your boss or your superior sits down with you and says, look, we can no longer justify X, remove the emotion, seek counsel from trusted advisors who have maybe experienced this for themselves or who have been on the side of the person delivering the news to fully understand the scope of what's going on, because it's not all about me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to realize that when you're in the moment, though, right?
And honestly, the salary reduction and title demotion is probably one of the best things that could have happened to me because it did allow me to take a step back, and it gave me the time and space I needed to do the hard work that only I could do to prepare for a pause.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to stay there just real quick. So you are very courageous, and you are someone who I have always looked at as being, I've admired from afar because you just have this sense of courage. Frankly, you do. And whether that's because you're a mom of boys, right?
Yes.
That adds another layer. Let's just be honest. But so many reasons contribute to that. Your upbringing, your parents, your life's experiences, the punch in the gut that you have to get back up and keep walking after. And, hearing you talk about intentionally and purposefully putting yourself back in an environment where potentially at that time may have felt not unstable necessarily, but you don't really maybe know your place, and it just may be an unknown, right? To go back to that environment and recognize the opportunity that's been provided and what that means for you. I could only imagine how just influential that might be at that point in your life. So I'd be curious, when you talk about doing the hard work, when you talk about realizing that, and you didn't say this directly, but I feel like we have some, parallel experiences here. You have to sometimes realize that you might be the problem, right? Or you might be, if you're the common denominator among a series of things, you have to be self-aware to realize that perhaps not that it's the problem, but it might be you, right? And I found myself in a career at that point where I'm like, why isn't everybody working around me? Why do I need to, and not necessarily that directly, but you have to realize that sometimes it's not about you, but you've got to be able to adjust and meet people where they are and see the bigger picture. And if you don't do that, or you're not afforded that, it can be challenging, So I'd be curious to hear what was the work? What did you really discover about yourself during that time? What helped you discover that? And I think that this is a really, really great lesson, and just a life lesson, I think, that anybody can benefit from as they're going throughout their career, where you just need to kind of pause once in a while and kind of just do a sanity check of the environment around you a little bit. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, stillness is sometimes the strategy. And to your point, we each as individuals may be the problem, or we may be contributing to a broader interpersonal sort of dynamic within a workplace in ways that we don't necessarily realize. And I wanted to be on the path of executive leadership. And as an executive leader, you're required to have a high level of emotional intelligence in tandem with a disciplined level of emotional control. So leading up to my first pause, I would get feedback from my peers and colleagues, individuals that I had worked closely with, and I asked for their candid feedback, and we made it a safe space for them to share with me.
That's great. Was that hard for you to ask that?
It's hard, but you've got to realize that when I was seeking this feedback, my hair was just growing back. I had just walked through the fire. There was nothing anyone could say to me that would penetrate my skin.
Yeah.
It had grown very thick through a cancer experience, and I craved the feedback because I wanted to be an exceptional leader of people. So it required hard work on my part, hard work to sit down with peers and hear their constructive criticism. Everyone was very gracious. It didn't come from an evil or malicious place. It came from a place of love and support. And they shared openly with me. And I took notes, and I took those notes back. Once I exited on my first pause, the first thing I did was I hired an executive coach. And I worked with an executive coach. I've worked with the same executive coach on and off for the last 6 years. I gave her the feedback that I had received. She helped me catalog and inventory my goals and objectives for the next leg of my career. She helped me go through pros and cons. What were my non-negotiables? What was I willing to negotiate on, like salary, culture, work-life balance, things like that. But we spent a lot of time on emotional intelligence, emotional control, and we did scenario planning where we would talk through a particular scenario and what is the ideal response from a leader's perspective, align with the organizational goals and to move not only the organization forward, but to move the individual contributor forward.
So what were looking back at that experience, I know you've been with her for a couple of years, what were some of those big things that stuck out to you that were, holy cow, I had no idea, or I never thought twice, and I think too, there's an avenue I want to pursue here. I think going back to what you talked about what you're willing to negotiate, what you're willing to let go of versus what you aren't. I think sometimes we don't recognize that that's even an option, right? So I would love to hear, like, what were some of those big things that surfaced that were either a surprise to you, or you just, and maybe you didn't realize about yourself that you really helped carry forward into the next chapter.
Yeah, through the conversations with my colleagues, I learned a couple of things. Number one, one colleague gave me the feedback that he said, Sonia, I mean this in the nicest way, but sometimes you can be a bull in a china shop. And I knew exactly what he meant when he said it to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I can be. So I took that to my executive coach and said, hey, this is feedback I've received. How do I throttle that?
Yeah.
And her coaching was, Sonia, sometimes you've got to be the bull in the china shop.
Yeah.
Some situations and scenarios call for that, especially as a leader. But sometimes you don't need to be. And other feedback I received, this was a young lady that I had the opportunity to not only manage, but also work side by side with. She let me know that sometimes she didn't feel supported by me. And so I was able to unpack that a little bit with my executive coach too. Like, what are the healthy boundaries you can put in place with individuals that you manage where they feel supported, but you're also able to be firm in the expectations and hold them accountable. So we did a lot of work around that as well. Leading into the work around my career and my goals, she helped me narrow it down to the industries that I was interested in. That was healthcare, biotechnology, or nonprofit work within the human services capacity. Those were the three sort of industries that I was really interested in working in. With that knowledge, that fed into the types of roles that I started evaluating for job opportunities, which led to the BioAlabama executive director position.
Yeah, that's awesome. And to think that, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so to ask for feedback and then be able to work within that. I think this is one of these things too where, life is a constant learning journey, and we're on this constant evolution of learning about ourselves and learning about other people and learning about different perspectives. I don't know about you, but I actually enjoy getting older, minus like me pulling my back out when I sneeze, but just because I feel like I have greater appreciation for certain things in life. And truly. And and to your point, I've never used similar words as this, but I totally get what you're talking about, how your sons are your trusted advisors. Jack, my youngest, obviously has been side by side with this business the whole time, and just, but he is starting to recognize some of those things. And the other day just gave me a piece of advice, and he's like, Mom, sometimes when I fall down I mess up at football, the coach just tells me to get right back up and you're going to do better and be better. And he's like, that's what you got to do. I was like, I love how my 12-year-old's using a football analogy to help me.
No,
but
and
it was so true though.
To that point, Megan, to use a sports analogy, we should incorporate that into the business world. It's not my expectation of anyone that I lead that every single day they come in and perform at a Patrick Mahomes level. It's not possible. Our brains aren't designed. Our mentality is not designed to operate at a high level day in and day out. And that's why rest and recovery are critical components to your professional life.
Yeah.
And setting those healthy boundaries to allow you the rest and recovery time required. Because even in sports, just to Jack's point, his coach isn't expecting him every single play to be flawless. If he's a receiver, chances are he's going to miss more balls than he catches. If he's on the defense, chances are he's going to miss more tackles than he makes. It's not realistic to hold a player on the field to those expectations of flawlessness. So why do we as professionals, as high-performing professional women, hold ourselves to that standard?
Sometimes you need to relax a little bit, right? And just,
sometimes you just kind of need to kick off the heels, relax the shoulders a little bit, and go for a walk, do a meditative walk, listen to music, sit in silence, journal.
Yeah.
Get it out of your body, get it out of your head in some healthy and productive way, but allow yourself rest and recovery. If you talk to an athletic trainer, they're going to say for their athletes, nutrition and H2O, not to flush out all your electrolytes though, you want to replenish those, are key, but recovery, rest and recovery helps prevent injury, helps athletes perform better on the field, and that leads to helping the entire organization achieve their collective goal together.
Yeah. We have a lot to learn from our young sons. So let's continue on with you coming back and being CEO. You're in this CEO role. And what is the outlook and clarity look like for you in this role? You've had time to rest and reflect and do, some inner, not soul searching necessarily, but just some work on yourself, right? And what was that role what did that look like for you when you kind of came back for a second time and were in that position and working with that team? How was that experience?
I came into an organization that had a solid foundation and an incredible team in place. Many of these individuals I'd worked with prior. They had seen me fail miserably as a young manager. So the first thing for me was I must build trust with everyone on my team because I needed them more than they needed me. That looked like one-on-ones routinely with everyone on the team, talking through what they were feeling because they also just came out of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Everyone felt the pandemic and the whiplash from that. So we just talked openly about where their head was at. And then I asked everyone on the team what they expected of me. And they gave me 3 things: communication, transparency, and support. I took those 3 things back to my executive coach. And I said, how do I deliver on these 3 things? Because this is what my team has told me they want. It wasn't anything flashy and sexy. It wasn't the fanciest, most expensive coffee. It wasn't wine or beer in the break room for happy hour, right? It wasn't socials. It wasn't more money. 3 simple things: communication, transparency, and support. And I worked on those 3 things the first entire year that I was back as CEO. I removed all noise, all distraction. I was CEO and I was mom. Those are the only 2 titles I wore. or hats I wore, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I focused on my team and building trust with them and coaching them up so they could problem solve effectively.
Mm-hmm.
They could work together as a team. There were a few paper curtains, if you will, between divisions that we tore down, and we wanted the communication to be open. I also observed for unproductive or distractive behavior, such as Slack. Slack can sometimes
Be a
be a
huge distraction.
complete derailment of accomplishing business
Zach
goals.
Tannett. Mm-hmm. He likes to jump into our Slack channel and just drop a bomb once in a while.
Some of the feedback, because our team was 100% remote,
Oh, yeah. So that's
something that we adopted through the pandemic, and my team members loved being remote. The one thing that they expressed as a con to that was they didn't have the social time with their colleagues.
Yeah.
And to overcome that, I encouraged them to not try to problem solve or brainstorm in typed messages in Slack. Pick up the phone, call each other. Use a tool that we've had since the 1800s. Pick up the phone, have a conversation. And our Slack activity was very low because people were leveraging other communication tools
Mm-hmm.
to more effectively problem solve and communicate in a remote environment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And that helped just bring your team together more strongly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would like to get to the journey of how you hit your second pause and where you're at now, which is very exciting. So share with us a little bit about the departure and how you got to this next phase. And
yeah, so leading up to my second pause, as I re-entered with this organization, our board commissioned me with 4 really big goals. Within 18 months, my team and I had accomplished the first goal, which quickly led to the second goal. I am under a veil of confidentiality, so I will not be sharing details out of respect for the organization and respect for business.
Yeah.
Some details just aren't meant to be shared, and discretion is a key skill in leadership. We accomplished our second goal. Within 24 months, we had achieved our third goal. So 3 of the 4 really big goals had been taken down by my team.
Awesome.
And they were phenomenal. Did we have to make some hard decisions along the way? Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
What
being a
business
leader.
doesn't? Yeah, exactly.
As we were approaching our 4th and final goal, I knew it was going to be a big one and was going to be very challenging to get across the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the support. And when I say we, my right hand at the time had just joined on. When I returned to this organization, I verbally gave a 4-year commitment. Some people have asked, why did you put a time limit on this opportunity? And it's very simple. I'm a breast cancer survivor. I didn't know what was in my future. And I knew that I wanted to experience other things in my life and not commit too much of it to one organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I put that time limit in place, but it was loose.
Yeah.
It wasn't a firm. But going into year 4, we started the succession planning, and we hired in my right hand who would be in place to take my role if I did make the decision to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And she stepped in and she started doing phenomenal work within her wheelhouse, and her strengths aligned well with my strengths. She backfilled my weaknesses very nicely, and we were a dynamic team.
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic. And we started working on this 4th and final goal together. And unfortunately, we didn't get it across the finish line.
Yeah.
We failed. We failed at accomplishing our 4th and final goal.
Mm-hmm.
this is a time as a leader where you have to do another inventory and self-evaluation to say, are you the person? Are you the person to accomplish this goal? I had deep conviction that I was. I truly believed it. And I committed to staying on to do another stab at it and take another run at accomplishing this goal.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, the decision at that point was not mine.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So I was offered severance and released of my duties from the organization. And I could walk away proud. And that severance funded 3 months of my second pause,
Mm-hmm.
allowing me to preserve the 6 months of self funds I had in reserves to fund it.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me the ability to elongate my second pause and really prepare for my next career move.
Which I'm so excited to talk about. I know.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
So Sonia has been cooking something up behind the scenes, and I think this has probably been brewing for many, many years.
It's been brewing for 8 years.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been out there for quite some time. And very excited to talk about that today. We've had the honor of just sort of watching it from behind the scenes, which has just been a beautiful thing to see unfold. And I'm very excited to just cheer you on from the sidelines and continue to watch what this next venture looks like. But Mamie Ruth Co. Is the next venture that you are taking, to your audiences, and very, very excited about it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what Mamie Ruth Co. is and what we can expect from that, and all the things.
Yes, during my second career pause, I founded my own company called Mamie Ruth Co. I'll explain the name here shortly. But it has been percolating in my brain for 8 years, ever since I received my cancer diagnosis. I witnessed and observed things that I had no clue were challenges or barriers to professional women. And a health crisis is one of those.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something. I wanted to have impact. Well, after you've received your diagnosis, you're in a very emotional state. So that's not the time to launch a company by no means. I did blog a little bit and share a little bit of my story, and the writing was very therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
But with a high demand career, because I still worked full time through my cancer treatment, mainly so my boys saw their mother getting up and living a normal life. And I was a mother of 2 small children. So I was in high demand with my own life and unable to stand up anything or move forward with having impact in the community of cancer patients, healthcare, medical crisis, et cetera. So as my career is continuing to take shape, this idea is still rolling around in my mind, and I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then as I entered my second pause, I now had the time and space required to do the deep thinking, the deep, hard work around a business. And I started putting my business plan to paper. I started talking to individuals like you and the resources that you have here at Flourish. I started talking to other trusted advisors to figure out the right path forward. And as my business plan started taking shape, writing a book became a key attribute of standing this company up. I thought a book would be a year out. I wasn't sure I would be able to get it done in the timeline that I wanted to get it done. So, working with Flourish, we started curating the brand around Mamie Ruth Co. The Mamie portion of the name is after my great-grandmother, Mamie Fowler, and the Ruth is from my grandmother, Ruth Simmons. The Co is for company. That is for all the women who have helped me along my journey. And it's not just exclusive to women, but all the individuals that have helped me along my journey and all of the individuals that I hope will benefit from hearing stories around tough topics and things that we have to navigate in life, but recentering us back to the hard work that only we as individuals can do for ourselves.
Yeah. Wow. So one of the things that we talked about offline was your LinkedIn status headline.
Yeah.
And it just says on pause.
Yeah.
And to those that maybe don't know you, they may not realize the significance of that. But to those that know you, know the significance of that. And as you've talked about Mamie Ruth and Co, and even, talking about stillness as the strategy and the power of the pause, you also said that you were at a place where you were in very high demand in your life. I've never heard that phrase before. And I think, not that men don't do this, but I think as women, we pile things on. We think we have to do all the sports and all of this and all of that. We've got to, and the high demand in your life. I love that because we sometimes we just shoot our own selves in the foot, right? We overwhelm ourselves. And I love sometimes you do just have to kind of take a pause and realize which direction are we going? Are we even in the right place before we kind of put one foot in front of the other, So I love this initiative of reminding women who are looking to have greater confidence and feel as though they have greater purpose and just really recognize where their passions lie by, just resting a little bit, So the book, tell us a little bit about the book and what we can anticipate in that.
The book title is Pause. Sometimes stillness is the strategy. There's 3 parts in the book. Family, where I give a historical context of my upbringing and what informed and shaped me through my childhood and the principles and the values that I was taught from my great-grandmother, from all of my grandparents and my parents. So I walk through characters in my life and the importance that they have on me. And I also share some of their experiences that I was privy to, that I experienced along with them and that I was able to observe with them and how they overcame some challenges.
Can I ask you a question about that? Did you gain clarity around? I love that word, the characters in your life. Did you know when you were younger that these were some of the things that were going on, or was it as you got older, kind of looking back and spending the adult time with your family members that you kind of recognized and put those pieces together?
You mentioned age. And at our age now, Megan, we're sort of in this midlife, if you will, where wisdom starts to take root. Wisdom from our lived experiences start to take root. And we're able to understand, because time has given us the value of perspective of what did previous things that happened in our life, how have they now informed who I am today, and what wisdom can I draw from that?
Yeah.
So yes, growing up, none of this ever really made sense to me. Family has always been a steady and stable fixture in my life. Every Sunday, my family sits down around the table and we break bread together. It's been that way my entire life.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that. It's amazing.
It's one of my most cherished
I bet.
traditions that we have. In my childhood, we gathered around my Granny Ruth's table every Sunday after church. Now that she's no longer with us, we gather around my mom's table. And my children are there. My sister is there. My parents are there. My niece and nephew are there. Sometimes we're not all together. That's okay. But we still have lunch together on Sunday.
That's amazing. That's amazing. How do you talk to me a little bit about what you're hoping for your boys? with that. And of course, having stability and family and all of that. But I don't know, just love to hear your perspective on your vision for them, given the circumstances.
So I wrote my book because it is a memoir. I like to call it a memoir style, a nonfiction novel. As I go through and tell the story of my life and my experiences. I wrote the book for my boys because, again, I'm a cancer survivor. I'm 44 years old. I don't know what the future holds. And individuals will, once they hear that I've written a memoir, some comments are, Sonia, you're too young. And I remind them, but I'm a cancer survivor. So we kind of have to think about our future in our life. Do I want to wait until I'm 70 to write this book? I don't know that I will make it to 70. It's on my heart now, and I have the words and I have the message.
Yeah.
I'm going to write it now.
Yeah.
And I can always do a second edition later in life.
Yeah.
But I wanted to write this book for my boys so they would know where they came from.
I love that.
And they would have a historical documentation of their great-grandparents, their grandparents, and their grandparents, and how they used a recipe, which I spell out in the book. As I mentioned, the first section is all about family. The second part is all about hard work. And the third part is about your faith. Regardless of your spiritual life, your preferences, where do you draw your faith from? And that's the final part of my book. And I wrote it for Major and Max. My mom also said she wanted to read it. So
it's exciting.
At least I've got 3 readers.
Oh, you'll have way more than that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So when is the book going to be launched? Talk to us a little bit about when we can expect that and what's next for Mamie Ruth Co. So there's a lot of exciting things going on.
Yeah, the book is coming out in October of this year.
Okay.
My date to release it is October 20th, which is my 45th birthday. So this is a birthday present to myself.
Love it.
I'm not going to buy myself flowers. I love the song, but I'm not going to buy myself flowers. I'm gifting myself my memoir.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's very exciting. Well, I'm so happy for you and congratulations. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to go through some experiences where, it's been hard. It's been hard. But if there's there's so much resilience here and just so much, okay, well, how do we learn? How do we pivot? How do we reflect and kind of recognize, what can we do to strengthen our own ability, right? To be the best version of ourselves. And I just love how you've recognized that and have poured yourself into what that looks like for you, moving forward. So, which is just awesome. And it's been really cool to watch you just unfold throughout your career from the sidelines. I know a fun fact with Sonia and I don't know if you remember this or not. I think we've talked about this before, but the very first time I met you was when you were working for Crestwood. And I came in working at a nonprofit and I was like, hey, do you guys want to sponsor something? And I think that was probably 15 years ago, had to have been, because Maddie was little itty bitty. Yeah. So it's just crazy.
We go way back, Megan.
We do go way back. We do. But as I mentioned to you earlier, though, there's been several consistent common themes that have always resonated from Sonia Robinson as your friend that I have seen. And it's the courage and the grit and the tenacity, and you take on big things, but you do them really, really well.
Thank you, Megan.
You do, and that's not an easy thing to do. Anyway, so I admire you for that, and I really believe that what you're doing with Mamie Ruth Co. is going to be something that's going to help women in a variety of different ways. And I agree with you. I think the wisdom starts to kind of plant its roots the little, as you get a little bit older. And not to say that anyone's walking around knowing everything. And it's not about being more intelligent. It's just about recognizing the perspective, right? And the value of it, which I think is important. And that's something that I think is really key to teach our kids too. So,
and we can find that in the stillness.
yeah, absolutely.
We can find that when we take time to pause and ponder our life experiences and what they mean and how they contribute to your broader goals in life.
Yeah.
Things that are worthwhile in life, living life is hard work. No one has the easy street.
Yeah.
We all are dealt with circumstances and things that we never thought would land in our path. But when they do, we can choose respect, empathy, and kindness, or we can choose to go down a different path of apathy, disrespect, and brutality. The choice is ours, but both require hard work.
Yeah. I
have always elected to go the empathetic, respectful, and kind route.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question for you out of curiosity. So, thinking about tangible ways to, for lack of a better phrase, execute the pause. Truly, though, I mean, I have found, and just through, therapy, frankly, that writing and journaling has been something that has been so helpful for me in so many ways. And I know there's some people who don't agree with it, but cognitive behavior therapy, I mean, rewriting the memories that you are holding on to from your childhood. That way you can, in essence, redefine what those emotions and feelings are, the way you're no longer, that concept to me is mind blowing. It just is, and it's something that has been extremely therapeutic for me personally. So that's a tactical, tangible thing that someone can do, right? To journal. What are some other things that kind of come to mind for you? When you think about pause being part of that strategy, is it journaling? Is it meditation? Is it the taking up a hobby that doesn't have an agenda, right? Or like, what are some of the things that kind of come to mind for you?
Yeah, I have some very specific things I can share. Regardless of whether a listener or a viewer is in a position or even may not even be considering pausing their career, we can still move through a very systematic approach, and it's deeply rooted in business principles and practice. So first and foremost, when I was preparing for both of my pauses, financial stability is number one. How did I go about that? Well, lifestyle creep impacts us all.
Yeah.
So you have to inventory your life, inventory where your money is going, and then start to determine what you need to get rid of. Because as you're planning for a pause, regardless of whether it's for a month, regardless of whether it's for a year, or maybe it's just for a breath, we need to look at how we're living our life and adjust our lifestyle based on salaries increasing and expectations changing. So that's step number one, is managing your lifestyle creep and managing your financial risk. I cut out all unnecessary expenses. Those expenses included TV subscriptions.
Just kidding.
Right.
They add up. Yeah.
TV subscriptions, gym memberships, don't need them. I purchased a brand new, beautiful Lexus GX. Loved that car. Going into my second pause, I couldn't justify that payment. So I sold it. With the profit I made off the sale, I bought a 1977 Ford F-100 Ranger for $5,800.
And it's such a great truck.
I own the title to it, although with a vehicle that old, a title isn't even required. It's just so funny. But I love this truck. I wish I would have done it years ago. So we have to inventory our life and make hard decisions. Did I want to sell my beautiful new Lexus? No.
Yeah.
But I had to.
Right.
There was no option.
Yeah. Well, and thinking through maybe some of the influences that, and not you specifically, but some of the influences that led you to that purchase to begin with, right? Like,
Yeah.
are we buying things and doing things for other
Oh, it was
people?
my executive
Right? Was
trophy,
it?
Like, that's all it was is,
Right.
yes, this is my
Yeah.
trophy vehicle.
Right. Right.
Now I have a 1977 Ford F-100 trophy vehicle, and people love it.
And it's so, this is just me. I think that matches who you are.
Oh, it does.
10 times
It
better
does.
than
It
the
matches
Lexus
my
ever did.
personality
It does.
perfectly. It does.
But you have to set yourself up for success in that regard.
You do. You
Yeah.
do. So the financial piece is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Stabilize your financials, get rid of debt, offload any risk, sell things that you're not using. Don't buy all the toys that you think you need or want because they're just going to add stress to your life. Minimize, minimize, minimize. Oh, my goodness. Can't say that enough. The second is you've got to start planning your narrative and your messaging around if you are going to take a career pause, what are you going to share with individuals? How are you going to share this? Because you're going to get 3 responses when you start sharing it. The first response is going to be, oh my goodness, are you okay? I'm great. The second response is going to be, man, I wish I could do something like that. And then third response, which is sometimes the most difficult one for me to process, is when I hear people say, I wished I would have done that.
Oh.
So prepare your messaging, prepare your narrative around why you are pausing. My first pause was around recovering fully from cancer and chemo brain and being at home with my boys. Because my boys, when I was diagnosed, they were 8 and 4. They experienced cancer equally as much as their mother.
Yeah. That had been so hard.
And as young children, they associated cancer with death. So I spent a lot of time with my children. We travel a lot, or we were traveling a lot. That's been removed from my budget because we just don't have it anymore. But it's at a time where my boys are entering their formative years where spending time with their friends is more important than traveling to New York or to a Civil War memorial with their mom, you know? So the timing of me cutting back on our travel together aligns perfectly with where they are in their life.
Yeah.
But we've had our time together. We have the memories. We have the photographs. When we sit down around the dinner table, we talk about those experiences, and we have enough to sustain us for a lifetime. But we invested that time in one another.
Yeah.
And then the third thing in planning your pause is you've got to think about your re-entry into the paid workforce. So whether you are pausing for caregiving responsibilities, maybe you're about to have a baby, maybe you're caring for a family member, and you're going out on pause. Maybe you're doing this for yourself. Maybe you didn't have the choice and you were offered severance due to a reduction of workforce or other reasons. When you're going into your pause, you've got to be thinking about your reentry. And you've got to work a very specific process for that too.
Yeah.
You've got to have your narrative. You've got to have your network, and you need to be in a position to activate and engage your network. And you've got to be applying. You've got to actively be out there seeking jobs. You'll hear individuals say, well, the job market is really tough right now. You can always make money. You may not land in the workplace or in the role that you are dreaming of, but you can always make money. And then you work and work until you land back into the role with the salary, with the title that you dream of. It may not happen immediately.
Yeah.
Do the hard work of getting out there and seeking out the career you want. Sometimes that may mean you're starting your own company, like Mamie Ruth Co. Sometimes that may mean you have an invitation to step into a leadership role. The opportunities are out there. You just have to leverage your marketing and PR mind to go after them.
Right. Think outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how you solicited, feedback from your peers too early on. I think that is so important and something that we should all do, at every stage. And there's probably going to be a lot of people listening to this who find themselves in that situation due to, a reduction in workforce or whatever it may be. That's happening a lot here, as we know, in North Alabama specifically. So leveraging that time to really find clarity and peace and help kind of craft that path, moving forward I think is going to be important. So
yeah, I want to end then with just this comment, Megan, if I may.
Yeah.
As high-performing women, our relationship with our careers are often very intimate. We love our careers. It's our financial stability. It's our health care. It helps us keep our kids in their home. But I want to challenge us as high-performing women to reframe the relationship that we have with our careers. And the way that we need to reframe it is we can have a strong relationship and that intimate relationship with our career. We can have really big goals, but we need to uncouple it from a workplace. The workplace is the unknown. It is the variable that can always change. We can still own our career, take control of our career, but do not be beholden to a workplace that has its own strategy and goals. Take control of your career, develop your own strategy and goals outside of the organizational goals, because your responsibility to the workplace is to accomplish the responsibilities that you have as the individual contributor or as the leader of that organization. Don't ignore your own goals and careers. And that is where you start building your confidence and your emotional control around situations that are way outside of your control within a workplace.
Yeah. Well, I think too, that also allows you to not be completely defined by your career. Like, I think a lot of people just in general, like if you were to strip the job and strip the title, it's like, who are you as an individual, right? And if you don't confidently know who that person is, that might be something to work on a little bit. But that's great advice. That's really great advice.
So the book comes out in October.
So exciting.
My first keynote is in October. I will be announcing a book tour on my website as these dates come to fruition, but I'm hoping to have up to 10 stops through the end of the year on my book tour.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Sonia, congratulations. I know this is it's so exciting to see this come to fruition and to think about, our conversation a couple of years ago. It's just a beautiful thing to watch unfold. And
well, I'm happy to have you and your team right here with me, helping me bring Mamie Ruth Co to life.
It's beautiful. I can't wait for everybody to see it. Thank you so much, Sonia.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Megan.
you so much. We'll see you guys later.